I wrote a blog this morning talking about how bipartisanship is a fraud, a scam, political cover for the Democrats to sell out to corporate America. If you watch this show, you've heard me talk about that a lot. I wrote about it and I said, I think the main takeaway from that article and what's a little more new than, or newer than what I've been talking about in the past is, and I've said it before, but I want to emphasize it today, which is, look, why has there never been calls for bipartisanship when the Republicans are in charge? Not never, but very rarely. And certainly the Republicans don't give a damn, right? So when Bush and Cheney were in charge, nobody talked about bipartisanship. You talked about kicking Democratic ass and shoving things down their throats, right? Was there like a big call? Oh, we're going to have tax cuts. Oh, we don't want to filibuster. Let's get bipartisan. You put Democrats, please, 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 we vote for tax cuts. No, they said shut the hell up and take the tax cuts and put them wherever the hell you like in your body part, okay? But they're coming, whether you like it or not. No talk about bipartisanship. Now, why? All of a sudden, the Democrats switch over, bipartisan, 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 bipartisan. What happened? What changed, right? Now, one could make the argument that the Democrats are nicer or more reasonable or more moderate. One could make that argument if they were politically naive. Okay, here's the reality. The Republicans don't need political cover. Everybody knows they're for the rich and the powerful, okay? That's how they, that's their go-to move. They collect money from the rich and the powerful, and then they turn around, and look, don't get me wrong, of course, they try to trick the people who vote for them by saying, oh, we're for freedom and liberty, yeah, we're on your side, but I mean, so it's an obvious fraud. Everybody knows it, right? Anyone who's paying attention, the 33% who vote for them no matter what, all you have to say is the magic word, God. Oh, God's on the Republican side. Okay, which banker do you need me to subsidize, right? So that game is obvious. Now, the Democrats, though, they got a problem. The problem is they pretend to be on our side, right? But by us, I don't mean liberals or progressives. I mean the people. They pretend to stand up for consumers and taxpayers, et cetera, and they're standing up to the powerful, and they're going to bring you change, and you should have hope. Now, that's a real problem for the Democrats because they take more money from lobbyists than even the Republicans do. So now how are they going to continue to get that lobbyist cash so they could overpower anybody in their local elections with the lobbyist cash that they raise and their opponents cannot raise since they're not in power? So how are they going to get that lobbyist money while pretending to do reform? Well, two things. One, all of a sudden, they're going to have this love of bipartisanship. And then when you look at that, the Republicans won't go along. Oh, you twist my arm. Oh, no, you won't go along. All right, let's water down the bill. All right, make the check payable to Senator Chris Dodd, right? So they use the Republicans as cover to do so-called compromises, to be centrists and moderates and get bipartisan deals. Now, have the American people in the last 10 years or so, 20 years, you can go back further, I'm sure there was a time when there was real bipartisanship, okay? In fact, a lot of people would point to 1978 as when it started to get much worse because of changes in financing of the Democratic Party, et cetera, okay? But that's another long story. So, but since then, has a bipartisan deal ever helped the American people? I mean, let's look at the recent past. So they strike bipartisan deals in the Senate for health care. What happened? Public option, gone. So you no longer have that option. It was supported by 60 to 80% of the American people in over a dozen polls. It's too bad for you, not supported by the lobbyists. So we have a moderate compromise for bipartisanship. And look at that. The thing that the people are in favor of is gone, and the private insurance companies are protected. Shocking. Medicare buy-in, gone. Would help the American people, would help the deficit. Conservatives claim to care about the deficit. Drug reimportation would save us $100 billion over the next 10 years. Gone. Bipartisanship. They kill it so that they can continue to take big pharma money. The drug companies give almost more money than almost anyone else to the politicians, okay? And accordingly, also the fourth thing gone among many, many things is negotiating with drug companies. Now, of course the government should be able to negotiate with drug companies. No right-minded American would say no to that. I don't even think the R-word teabaggers would disagree with that. Then why wouldn't we want to negotiate with drug companies? Of course we would, right? Well, that's also gone. Why? Bipartisanship. They decided to make a deal, the Republicans and the Democrats, where shockingly enough, look at that, the corporate lobbyists won and you lost yet again. Huh, funny how that bipartisanship works. And now, look, now we get to the media side of it. The media is pathetic. Instead of telling you what bipartisanship really is, which is a wholesale capitulation to corporate lobbyists, nobody, the American public, have not won at all in any bipartisan conference. Look, I'm going to give you more examples. Finance. We're doing financial reform now. Chris Dodd, and that's why he's involved in this story, came out with really strong rules in the beginning in the Senate side and said, look, these are the financial reform we need. I came on the show and said, wow, fantastic, I'm in favor of it, right? And what happened since then? Say it with me. Bipartisan compromise. So all of a sudden, not as much financial reform. All of a sudden, we're not separating the banks, according to the latest negotiations in the Senate, of commercial banks and investment banks, which means that they can continue to gamble with your money. You know, are we going to cap leverage and capital requirements? Well, maybe, maybe not. Are we going to, you know, look at derivatives? As you look up and down the list, every single so-called compromise here to the Republicans has been to water down the bill, make it weaker, and make financial reform much less effective and much more in favor of the banks. Gee, I wonder how that happened. Well, yeah. So in between conservative and liberal, I guess in the middle is corporate. That's not the middle between conservative and liberal. It's a guise. So the Democrats love that they can be filibustered by the Republicans because it allows them to go, oh, the Republicans, oh, we need 60 votes. Okay, lobbyists, come on, I give in. Everything you want. And it's, oh, bipartisanship, we need bipartisanship. Where do I say, where do I get the check? Come on. Okay, that's the game that's being played.